The male loneliness epidemic is just a fancy way of saying that a huge number of men are bringing absolutely nothing to the table, and women have finally stopped pretending that's okay. That's it. That's the whole thing. And men are literally undateable in record numbers.
Wait, no way that just happened. Wait,
Do you allow your girlfriend to have girls' nights out?
Previously, yes. Currently, no. But I'm a provider. What I mean by that is she doesn't work. She has no responsibilities besides day-to-day tasks and enjoying life. So she want to have a girls' night. Absolutely. Go do it. Use my card. Pay for everything. Pay for you and all your friends. The entire night's on me. Be home by this time. Yada, yada, yada. She lost track of time. She missed the curfew. Guess what? There is no more going out.
My girl doesn't go on girls' trips. You know, I'm not letting my girl go to Vegas and get drunk with a bunch of girls in a club when there's a bunch of dudes buying bottles all around them. Why would I put her in that position? And I put hard lines in with a woman, particularly around even something like that. I find her to get really turned on by it.
Hey, what's good, y'all? I know most of you watching this are probably familiar with the term male loneliness epidemic. Well, we're not really here to talk exclusively about that, but one contributing factor to why that term even exists in the first place. And of course, it's because men have been seeking control over women for as long as you could possibly imagine. And strikingly, despite everything that has happened the last couple of decades with, the Me Too movement, feminism movement as a whole, and everything else, somehow we still haven't come to the conclusion that perhaps trying to control your girlfriend or your wife and dictate their life maybe isn't such a good idea. Now, some of you have probably seen many trad wife videos, or even possibly my own, where I talked about specifically men who want a trad wife, right? Somebody who pretty much just does everything for them while they just go to work. And a lot of people had said something to the tune of, so in other words, you just want an assistant or like a nanny or like a maid, basically anything but actually a wife, somebody with their own thoughts and ideas and opinions and hobbies and interests, things that, you clearly don't care about, right? That's kind of what the consensus was on that. And I was very much inclined to believe that is in fact the truth, which is one of the many reasons why someone who's looking to be a trad wife enjoyer is having a very, very difficult time finding that, as they should. I know a lot of you watching this has probably come across somebody who's been exclusively controlling, tells you what to wear, or somebody whose boyfriend is a total piece of shit. I'm speaking from experience here because I've seen this in my daily life. I mean, friends of mine have been told by their significant others that, if you don't get home right now, I'm gonna kill you. Shit like that. Kind of crazy, right? Point is, this isn't some unusual, rare phenomenon. It's still quite common. The only thing shocking about it, and maybe you might disagree that it's shocking, is that the men who do this stuff still just don't get it. But hey, let's just keep crying loneliness, right? So this creator here, Abby, does a great job at explaining pretty much exactly what we're going to be talking about for the entirety of this video. So let's go ahead and watch that.
One of the most abusive husbands to be married to is the coercive husband. Hey everyone, I'm Abby. Welcome back to my series where we are dissecting the different archetypes of husbands that exhaust women the most in order to lend language to women to help them understand what they're dealing with. And as I've made this series, I have to make a point to talk about sexual intimacy and coercion, as so many of you have DM'd me asking, well, what do I do when he wants sex? And the thing about coercive husbands is they don't just want intimacy, they want access to your body. The coercive husband is well aware that the relationship is strained. He just doesn't give a fuck. He knows that you've told him over and over that you're exhausted, that you need support, emotional connection, a partner instead of another person to take care of. And yet he still believes he's entitled to sex. So when you say no, the pressure starts. He pouts, he guilt trips you, he gets angry, whatever he needs to do to make you feel guilty. And sometimes they will escalate that further. They will threaten to get it somewhere else. They will withhold money or from doing the minimal chores that they do take care of. They become verbally abusive. And so often they will weaponize timing to avoid accountability. And you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. They will wait until you've done bedtime solo, until you've handled the kids, the home, all day long while they've scrolled on their phone, until you are very clearly exhausted. And then that's when they'll make their move. And do you know why? Because when you inevitably and rightfully so, say no. Now they get to say, you're always rejecting me. Do you know what it's like to always be rejected? And now they get to act like the victim. But do you notice what they don't do? They don't actually help carry the load that would make intimacy a possibility. They don't create connection. They create exhaustion, and then they blame you for it. And I want you to know that if you've ever dealt with this, if you're dealing with this currently, please understand that your exhaustion, your mood, your hormones, your medication are not the problem. His entitlement is the problem. You are allowed to say no, even if he's angry, even if he pouts, even if he tries to punish you for it. His reaction to your boundary does not mean that your boundary was wrong.
So, like I already stated previously, she does a fantastic job of just kind of laying out exactly what we're going to be talking about. And we're actually going to see quite a few examples of the things that she brought up from, you know, real world experiences. So she does a fantastic job explaining what the coercive husband is. Now, that's a term that I actually learned recently, didn't know that was really much of a thing, that it was something as specific as that. But essentially, it's something that I think is very low-key represented in a lot of men in relationships. They show many characteristics from this. Now, most not to this extreme that she's talked about, but to enough of a level where it becomes an obvious red flag, right? And the whole core principle of like the male loneliness epidemic is men can't find relationships anymore, especially with women, and of course obviously with other men too, because I don't know, you're taught that when you're like 10 years old that being gay is like the worst thing you can possibly do, which is obviously a load of hot bullshit. And so that takes away from like genuine connection. And it's not just that, but then when men are seeking relationships with women and they carry these types of ideologies into the relationships, it's automatically seen as a no thank you, I'm gonna pass on you, and maybe consider some other options. Because for one thing that I think a lot of men have failed to realize in the modern day is that women don't really need men in the same way that they did in the past, when, you know, there were laws that prohibited women from voting, there were laws that stopped women from, you know, working in certain fields or doing other things, or you couldn't leave your husband, for instance, or the culture was more traditional, which is why the whole like trad wife trend that has popped up because of influencers romanticizing it has been so problematic. Because like, if you actually think about what the trad life meant in the past, it was a way for men to simply control women, right? Do that, and that is your role, and you're taught that from a young age, and you cannot deviate from the path, right? That's what young women were taught. And now that obviously the rights are on the table, right? You can do whatever you want. You don't have to get married at, 17 years old and be a servant to a man for the entire rest of your life. You can go get a job, you can go get educated, you can get a career, you can not seek a relationship at all, and that's totally acceptable, normal, and expected in many cases sometimes. And so men who are still carrying some of this antiquated ideology of, I'm the leader, I control, I tell you what to do, I'm the man, women can just say no thank you. And then you're left confused, confuddled, your mouth agape, looking like surprised Pikachu, like, what the fuck? Nobody wants connection anymore. I'm so lonely. What am I supposed to do? I mean, I can't go talk to my male friends. I was told if I do that, that's gay. That's cringe. That's weird. Can't do that. That's not an option. So what do? You go on social media and you cry about how lonely men are, right? When in reality, it kind of comes back to the patriarchy being the root of the problem. Now we're just going to look at a couple of just very clear-cut examples of this before we kind of come back together and talk about it.
Why can't I have $100? Why can't I have $100?
What would I give you $100 for?
Because I asked for it?
I asked for a lot of shit, but I get none of it.
Now, there isn't much of a development that comes from this, nothing drastically changes. But let me clarify something for those of you who might be a little bit uncertain of exactly what's going on here. So I actually read the comments on this video, and the original poster actually explains that she is the breadwinner of this relationship, he doesn't actually work. She works, and the money, he for some reason gets access to all the money, and she has to like ask to get her own money. I don't really understand the relationship dynamic, but it does tell you something intrinsic, and that is that historically men have been the handlers of the money. Right? You give your woman money to get groceries and to do laundry and, you know, whatever it is, to pay bills. Something usually, I mean, it just depends if you're the one paying the bills or you're giving your wife money to pay them because you don't feel like doing it because, you know, that's beneath you. Sorry, not a man's job. And in this case, he still believes despite the fact that he's not the one working, that he is the one who gets to decide who does what with the money. Right? And she's saying, can I get $100 for, I don't know, maybe she wants to go purchase something for herself, maybe some makeup or I don't know, like some new jeans or something. Who knows what it is? Doesn't matter. And Big Cheese here is like, nope, sorry. And he starts acting like a little toddler, like you can't get money. And because you asked, you're definitely not getting money now. And it's like, how do you still have this entitlement when first off, you're not even the one working? Now imagine the scenario where the man involved here is the one working and you're the stay-at-home wife, you're the caretaker of the home, and you need money for something personal. You have to go and ask, and if, I don't know, he's just not feeling that great that day, or, you know, maybe he doesn't like you as much as he did the previous day and he tells you no, or maybe he makes it a transactional thing, like, oh, maybe I'll give you money if you throw that ass back for me. I don't know, something like that. And then it becomes very toxic and far removed from what you would expect a healthy relationship to be like. And the truth of the matter is, nobody wants to deal with this. There's no woman alive who wants to deal with this, to have to go ask their man for their own money and then being told no. I mean, so in other words, it's probably beneficial to just, I don't know, stay single, which is a pretty common choice in the dialogue options nowadays. And let me tell you, I am the very last person to say I'm fucking surprised. So this video you're about to watch is actually a reference. So honestly, one of my favorite movies now, Obsession. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. But this isn't what we're going to talk about. She has another video where she kind of speaks more in depth about something, but you'll see what I mean shortly.
No.
What?
No.
So that video was from 6 days ago, though this one in front of us is from a day ago, and let's see what she's up to.
There's truly nothing better than having a best friend that you go on dates with that are better than any date with a man. We're at Olive Garden, got so much food, and then we're going to get frozen yogurt. We decided on going to Target to get like ice cream instead of frozen yogurt, so cheers. But anyways, go on a date with your best friend.
Oh, I'm sure you noticed it. Seems like the man is out of the picture, and now she is going on dates with her best friend, and she's like, this is way better than whatever the fuck she was doing beforehand. And obviously that first video, it was talking about how she had a controlling partner who didn't let her hang out with her friends, which is a strikingly common theme, one that I personally just don't fucking get. My wife, for instance, hangs out with her friends like almost every weekend, and let me just say, it doesn't bother me even in the slightest. I mean, most of the time she just usually says like, oh, by the way, on Friday I'm hanging out with this friend. I'm like, okay, cool, have fun. You know, that's like healthy, normal. I don't know why it has to become almost like this tug and war battle of like, can I see my friends? And they're like, no. Or like, what do you need to see your friends for? Like, why? Like, you can hang out with me. Like, that's controlling. It's unacceptable behavior. And for some strange reason, even despite everything that's happened in the last few decades that I mentioned earlier on in this video, there's still a lot of men who just don't get it. That you can't be controlling like this and expect to still have a stable relationship. You're just going to get left, right? Because there is no dependency on men anymore. If you're going to stop her from doing what she wants, then, well, she's just going to leave you and then go do what she wants. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And first off, I don't even understand these types of people who want that stuff. And I know obviously there's this whole indoctrination into this way of thinking, especially when you have like those alpha male creators and stuff who tell you this stuff, that this is the way you need to act, you need to control and all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. I'm here to say That's clearly a load of hot bullshit, and it's one of the main reasons why the male loneliness epidemic exists. It's literally created by enforcing this way of thinking and these types of actions that literally make you seem extremely unappealing to anybody who would give you attention in the first place. It's a lose-lose for these absolute goofballs. And speaking of absolute goofballs, this is one we must talk about.
You alright, darling?
Hi, babe. How's it going?
Yeah.
Oh,
Where are you?
good. I'm just in town. How are the kids doing?
They're fine.
Listen, just a dead quick one. I was literally in town, and guess who I've bumped into? I've literally just bumped into Hannah, and I've not seen her in ages, have I?
Oh.
So listen, I was just wondering, could you literally just hold on to the kids just for a couple more hours on your own? Because I said to her, you know what, let's literally just pop in town, just for a drink.
Sinead, are you being serious right now? This is my one day off, and you said you'd be home 15 minutes ago, and I'm sat here with the kids, and now you're saying you're going out drinking?
No, honestly, literally, we are just going to pop into town for like an hour. We're just going to have a few drinks. Literally, we're just going to have a coffee and maybe a little bit of lunch. Honestly, would you mind?
Honestly, every time, it always ends up being this longer thing. This is my one day off, Sinead. One day.
Mark, please do not be like this today.
What do you mean?
Please.
Why are you
Because, honestly, Mark, how often is it, and be honest, how often is it I actually get to just pop into town just with a friend? It never happens.
What do you mean? You're in town right now? It happens a lot.
No.
And then I'm the one that has to just I don't know what to do with them.
No.
They want their mum.
What do you mean you don't?
Dinner for them?
What do you mean you don't know what to do with them? Mark, they are just...
I try to talk to them and they don't know.
This conversation gets like a little too heated for the scope of this video, in my opinion. So I don't want to show all of it, but at this point you've gotten the gist of it, right? She wants to hang out with some friends that she just stumbled across, and she wants her man to take care of the kids for a little while longer, And bro blows a fucking gasket, absolute gasket about it. And he's full of shit when he's like, you're in town all the time, and she's like, dude, I never like hang out with my friends or whatever. And he's like, you're doing it right now, and it's like, it sounds to me like she was out like doing errands or something, because she wasn't hanging out with friends. So she was probably like, I don't know, buying groceries or, something like that. And that doesn't count. That doesn't count as your like hangout free time. You're doing tasks. You're essentially working for the household right now. And bro's like, you do that enough. Like, what makes you think you should have time to just hang out with your friends? Like, come on now, be realistic. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the type of behavior that makes it extremely difficult for men to hold a stable relationship, because nowadays, since again I already mentioned that the dependency has seriously been reduced, you can just leave. You can just say, you know what, this is toxic, I want nothing to do with this, and then you move on with your life. And then bro is stuck there wondering what happened. Well, this is what happened. Now, as somebody who doesn't have any kids, what if I did? And if I was in this scenario, my wife was out and she ran into one of her friends and she was out doing something and I was expecting her home sooner. And she's like, hey, I met up with this friend, or I saw them. You mind if I hang out with them for a little bit? Keep watching the kiddos for a little while longer. I'd be like, sure, have fun, knock yourself out. Like that seems like I don't know, the mature, acceptable, normal, healthy response. But bro instead wants to blow a gasket. Like, dude, can you not just handle the kids for a couple more hours? Like, is it really that big of a deal? I don't know. And now we're about to see what the podcast bros have brought to the table over the last few years.
The moment you think about going on a trip without me, it's over. You're gonna come home and I'm not gonna be there.
Now, what if they asked you if they could go?
I'm gonna be emotionally calm and I'm gonna say, absolutely not.
God
That's all I'm gonna say. The moment you think about...
Wow, you are such an adult.
My girl doesn't go on girls' trips. I'm not letting my girl go to Vegas and get drunk with a bunch of girls in a club when there's a bunch of dudes buying bottles all around them. Why would I put her in that position? And I put hard lines in with a woman, particularly around even something like that. I find that they get really turned on by it.
I mean, just say you're insecure. I feel like that's a lot easier. It can save you a lot of words, man. I know words are difficult for you and it's kind of hard getting them out. But yeah, maybe just say I'm insecure. Might be too big of a word for him. Anyway, this is unacceptable. This is toxic behavior. Now, I understand having concerns about safety or things like that. For instance, he's talking about Vegas, right? I think it was like 2 years ago now, or maybe no, like a year ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but my wife went on a bachelorette trip to Vegas for one of her friends. Bro, I did not make a whole fuss about it or anything like that. Only thing I cared about was to make sure she was safe. So I was just like, be cautious. Don't trust anybody. If a creepy dude sits next to you, move away. You'd be, you know what I mean? Just like, be smart, be tactical, make sure you're safe. Because that's what I cared about at the end of the day. And obviously she was. So things all worked out. But this type of thinking isn't uncommon. In fact, I think what I just said about how I would respond to the situation might not be the status quo a lot of the time. At least it's not the type of information that's being peddled and pushed out to younger people consuming this content, and then they think this is normal and they think this is the way they should behave and this is how they should act, and it's all wrong and it's all backwards and there's nobody around telling them fucking otherwise. So anyway, I just kind of want to wrap things up with this last video of this woman here who absolutely gets it, kind of explains how the male loneliness epidemic is the fault of the men, which I think is extremely true.
The male loneliness epidemic is just a fancy way of saying that a huge number of men are bringing absolutely nothing to the table, and women have finally stopped pretending that's okay. That's it. That's the whole thing. And men are literally undateable in record numbers. They're not growing. They're not evolving. They're not doing the emotional work. They're not bringing partnership to the table. They're not even bringing basic respect to the table. Now the women have to put up with it? No, we're choosing not to. And suddenly it's a fucking crisis. Who? It's not a crisis for the women. Women are out here thriving on their own. And that's the funny thing about it too. You look at any time this topic comes up on social media, blaming women for the male loneliness epidemic. Like, are you on drugs? Are you fucking kidding me? It's so ridiculous. You're undateable, sir. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry. If the bar is on the floor and men are still tripping over it, that is not a girl's problem. That is a them problem. Go to therapy, read a book, learn how to cook a meal, learn how to regulate your emotions, learn how to be a genuine partner to someone, and then maybe, just maybe, you'll get chosen. It is a choice and you have to be worth choosing.
Literally, it's as simple as that. It really does not get any more complicated than the few words that she laid out. These men that are complaining are not looking at what the core problem is. They're looking for a scapegoat. Like, oh, I can't get laid, I can't get a date, I can't hold a steady relationship. It's obviously women's fault. They've changed and feminism destroyed women, and that's why we want to go back to the nuclear family and the traditional lifestyles, and like, you do your role, I do my role. Like, why is that not so simple anymore? It's literally what it comes down to. And it's just pathetic. I think that might be the best way to describe it, is it's genuinely pathetic. And this whole topic isn't something that like I made up or is smaller than I make it seem. No, it's genuinely a big deal. And it's not like it's something that's improving. It's only getting worse every single day as more of these podcast bros come out, and these alpha males and these people who are just indoctrinating men. And obviously the historical thinking that still exists despite it being antiquated, like, it's only making the gap bigger and bigger, and birth rates decline, stable relationships are less achievable, almost impossible it seems. And then of course you obviously have like dating apps and things like that, and people struggling to actually make genuine connections in many different ways. And yeah, you're left with this very serious but treatable problem. The issue is those who are affected by it the most, so absorbed by it that they can't even understand what the root issue actually is. And you can never fix a problem without getting to the root of it. You can only bandage it, delay it, or make absolutely no meaningful progress on it. Anyway, that's really all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. See you all next time.